So she stood as London Mayor. She is now standing as joint leader of the Green Party. And we're very particularly grateful for the Green Party because they've been strong supporters of our campaign all the way through. And I think just about all your leading lights have been here at least once. So I'll hand you over to Sian. Thank you very much, Sian.
Thank you. I saw the faces of some of you watching that coming down, and last time I was here was in the middle of the winter. It was absolutely freezing cold, and there were people in that camp there keeping a close eye on absolutely every lorry that came in, absolutely everything that thing did. And I completely share the emotion that you must have at having had that thing on your doorstep for so long. And it is, I mean, it's not even the last year that you've been here. I know we've got the upcoming anniversary of the Green Mondays, which is in the middle of August. Natalie Bennett's going to come back. She's been here more times than me. I've got a lot of catching up to do on Natalie Bennett. I think Jonathan Bartley, who I'm standing with to be the leader of the Green Party, co-leaders, has been here several times as well. And we'll all have been struck by the sight of that rig. And you're right, where it goes next. You've delayed that though. That's the thing. You've been here all this time. You've been delaying it through the planning process. You've been delaying it through direct action for a year, and everything you've done has been incredibly inspiring to everybody around the country, and practically effective as well, because delay is the key to all of these things. All of these things when there's an enormous warplane going over. So yeah, sorry, a warplane going overhead there. Does that happen a lot? Yeah, another reminder of other things that we fight against there. No, you've done an amazing job here, and you'll continue to do it. And I think what the government's doing in its final stages, it's incredibly weak. Look at the decision that they put out right on the very last day of Parliament. Why would you do that if you weren't scared of the reprisals that you might get, if you weren't scared of the people who might descend on Parliament to hold you to account for that, scared of what the other MPs who don't support fracking would say to you? And putting out this consultation again, permitted development is something the Conservatives have used quite a lot on various different things. They've been allowing permitted development for converting office blocks and shops, and just taking away decisions about local planning from people in local areas. And it's the most ridiculous top-down thing to do. And I've seen this, you know, the impact of this has been absolutely huge. The lorries coming in and out, and yet somehow that's not going to be under planning rules if the permitted development goes ahead. So yes, we do need to take this fight up to the government to fight against the permitted development. I'm a London Assembly member. I'm elected in London to represent people. So far I've had 407 emails about this from campaigners, and I wish I'd had 4,007, but 407 is really good. And I think we're right. We all have to be spreading the word, getting the message to all our elected representatives, because it's not just MPs who can respond about this. I think local councils, the motion that Gina got through is really, really important, and we have to fight this at absolutely every level. And I think it's the sign of a really weak government in general. It's a government that is governing with a majority that's so tiny under first past the post, that it's weak, and it's putting through things that force through things that local communities don't want, that they know are bad decisions. And this is a really bad decision. I keep talking about fracking as being one of the last gasps of the fossil fuel industry, and it's such an irrational decision to pursue fracking. The wording in that new national policy statement that says, we will encourage shale extraction because it's needed for security. No, it isn't. Real security is renewable energy, and we've got the government at the moment cancelling things like the tidal lagoon, not allowing wind farms to be done, not giving the security of proper feed-in tariffs to community-led solar energy projects, things that would provide real security at the local level as well as at the national level. And yet they're pursuing fracking, the dirtiest, the worst form of fossil fuels, the last gasp of fossil fuels that is not even a good investment. So another way that I think, I'm talking about Alan's, thank you Alan by the way for your speech there, Alan for Green Party leader I think, but what Alan was saying about taking us to the facilitators, staying here, challenging the perpetrators, but taking it to the people who facilitate is vitally important as well. And I know a lot of you take part in divestment campaigns, and so do I, and those can be fought at every level. We're fighting that in our council at the moment in Camden. We're getting a really poor response from our council. They are absolutely adamant that they want to engage with the fossil fuel industry in order to reduce its emissions. They don't want to engage with the fact that we need to be investing in things with our pensions for the long-term future, and they're giving us all kinds of nonsense answers. But the local people are fighting back. They're taking it to absolutely every council meeting, absolutely every council committee, and I know that Divest Parliament have been doing some really good stuff as well. If we can take away their money, that's another way of attacking the facilitators of this horrible, dirty industry. So I think we have to keep fighting, and we will win. I come out of the road campaigning movement. I worked for a long time as a transport campaigner with road campaigns, and the road campaigns were very similar to this. There was a lot of fighting on the ground over the first of what was going to be 150 new roads that were planned in the 1980s, and through the 1990s, the early 1990s, campaigners fought against those worst, the soonest, the first schemes of those 150, and they fought so well and so effectively that the government, again, a weak government, had to introduce new laws in order to criminalise what they were doing so effectively to stop it. And this is the kind of thing that they're doing to you now with this injunction, this weird injunction that isn't against particular people, but it is against particular activities. And the police here seem to have changed their tactics since the last time I came. They seem to be much more keen to jump on anybody who will do something that might be breaking the injunction, even though it's your choice to break the injunction. If you want to break the injunction, I'm not encouraging you to do that because I know the consequences are quite severe. But the police, it's not a law that you shouldn't do that. It's a civil matter, and the police do seem to be stomping on that all of a sudden and grabbing people and preventing them. I saw a young girl being grabbed, prevented from going out into the road at all to stop those lorries, and I'm very suspicious about that. But the government and the road builders did the same things in the 1990s, and the 1990s campaigns, they lost some battles, but they won the war, and I think that's where we're going to be with fracking. And I think the big difference here is that the roads keep coming back. We call them the zombie road schemes, because once you stop a bypass from being built, give it 10 years after the bypass has been defeated, and somebody else will pull out that plan and go, oh, you know what we need? We need a bypass here. These zombie roads, they come back and they come back. But I think with the fossil fuel industry, it knows it's doomed. And I think if we can stop the fracking industry taking over the rest of the UK, if we can stop them expanding here, stop them on the other side of Lancashire from, I keep forgetting the name of the place, but stop them on the other side of Lancashire from starting there, put them off going to all the other places, then by the time we've won the argument, the fossil fuel industry will be dying, will be dead, and this will be the end of it. Because once we've got to that vision, that green way of doing things, that is renewable energy, that's secure, that's locally controlled, where the fuel is not going away because it's the wind and the rain and the sun and the tides. What argument can they possibly have for going back to fossil fuels? And you can already see that their argument, well, it is. So at the moment, their argument is now for carrying on extracting the last bits of profit from the last bits of oil that we can possibly burn before climate change comes to get us. They're already saying that fracking is a stopgap. Well, that's an admission of loss, isn't it? They're not saying this is the long-term solution to our energy needs. They're saying this is a stopgap before we do what we know is right, which is what the Greens, the Green campaigners, the Green movement, the Green Party are asking for. So delay, delay, delay. Stop as many of these schemes as we can. Fight the government's undemocratic ways of overriding local wishes in every way we possibly can. Take it to where they are, as well as the places where the perpetrators are doing the fracking. And I think once we've done that, we will have won permanently, and we will be able to get a better world. And I want to say one more thing, which is, Gina on the council has made an enormous difference. Lancashire County Council has stood up against fracking in ways that I honestly don't think they would have if we hadn't had that one Green on the council holding them to account, being there in the room. And I think that's something that we have to think about and really campaign to get proportional representation, because one Green on the council is fine. I'm one Green on my council. There are loads of issues that get raised on that council as a result that are only there because I am there raising those issues. Some of the things like charging people a minimum amount of council tax so that there's not 100% council tax benefit. Nobody else would have raised that within Camden Council. I'm the only one raising the fact that our apprentices don't get a living wage. And these are lots of little things, but they all add up. And this is a big thing. And I think the difference that a Green makes is shown by the huge, there's the community activism as well. But I think having that Green on the council makes them think. They first of all think, well, the Greens got enough votes around here to get a councillor. That's the politicians are very worried about votes. So they're thinking, oh, well, the Greens are popular. Maybe we'll listen to those other campaigners that are on our doorstep. But also, she's an absolutely vital voice. And yet, there's only one of her. And there should be a lot more. And the reason there aren't more Greens or more councils is because we don't have proportional representation for councils. So one thing I want to do and make sure that we focus on is not just proportional representation for Parliament, which is sorely needed. If we had it, we would have something like 30 Caroline Lucases at an absolute minimum. Imagine that, 30 Caroline Lucases. Yeah, we might have to have some gender balance, but basically it would be 30 Caroline Lucases in Parliament if we had PR. But on every council as well, you wouldn't just have one Green, one really hard fought for Green like we have now on Burnley Council. We'd have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Greens is what we do on Camden Council. And then at last they'd listen to us, and maybe the government would be less inclined to impose its wishes, to impose the wishes of a dying industry on local areas, if we just had that PR. So please, yes, let's fight on every level. Let's fight right here where it's happening. Let's fight with the money. Let's fight for divestment. Let's fight to get those planning rules cancelled because they're ridiculous. But also let's fight for some of the root causes of this. And some of the root causes are our unfair democracy. Thank you.
Thank you.
When you're ready.
Oh, can I say one more thing? Just to say how much of an inspiration you all are is I will be going to the garden centre to answer questions and listen to people about this leadership campaign that me and Jonathan Bartley are fighting together. But 100%, the reason that part of our platform to be co-leaders is to give people around the country access to direct action training is because of the work that you've all done here. We suspect that we're going to need to do a lot more of this in future. We are the only party that has non-violent direct action as part of our philosophical basis for use when we need it, when all the democratic ways of standing up against things have failed, when democracy has been subverted. Direct action is the right thing to do, and we think more Greens need training in that so that we can have more people like you fully trained up in doing this right, which you do here. So thank you for inspiring us to think about that and put that into our plans. Thank you.